Look closely at a typical living room on a Tuesday night. Two people occupy the exact same physical space, sitting inches apart on a couch, yet they are separated by miles of cognitive distance. We usually expect relationships to fracture through loud arguments or massive betrayals, but the actual decay is much quieter. It often starts with phubbing, phone snubbing, where one partner habitually defaults to their screen over the person sitting right next to them. Human intimacy relies on a very specific biological mechanism. It requires the synchronization of two minds, built through unbroken, shared attention. When we look at each other and listen, our nervous systems actually align. So what happens to that delicate, synchronized state when a highly engineered device sits in our pockets, constantly pinging and pulling at the margins of our awareness? The reality is that modern relationships aren't failing because people suddenly stopped loving each other. They are collapsing under the systematic, engineered extraction of human presence. Let's freeze the exact split second this disconnect happens. One person is speaking, and the other's phone lights up. The eyes dart away. In that fraction of a second, the listener is gone. Psychologists call this state continuous partial attention. The user isn't fully immersed in the digital world, and they aren't fully present in the physical room. They are suspended in between, passively scanning for the next piece of optimal stimuli. Inside the distracted brain, social media operates on a variable reward schedule, delivering unpredictable dopamine hits. Human conversation cannot compete. In a brief downward glance, the brain abandons the slow burn processing required for empathy, trading it for the frictionless novelty of a digital alert. The person looking at their phone rarely does it out of malice. Their cognitive load has simply been hijacked by a system built specifically to exploit their biological behavioral triggers. But we have to look at the other side of the couch. Think about the partner whose vulnerability was just cut off mid-sentence. Throughout human evolution, sustained eye contact has been a primary indicator of safety and social cohesion. When that attention is suddenly withdrawn, our nervous system interprets it as a tiny yet acute threat of abandonment. Look at this hierarchy scale. When one partner breaks focus to check a ping, an implicit message is sent. The ignored partner is abruptly bumped down a tier, displaced by whatever glowing notification just appeared at the top of the priority list. We forgive one distraction, but the danger lies in the sheer volume. Hundreds of these micro-rejections compile, fracturing the chart and carving a vast, invisible digital divide straight down the middle of the relationship. The symptoms follow a predictable pattern. Conversations become drastically shorter. Incidental physical touch disappears. Both people slowly retreat into emotional withdrawal, assuming the other is simply no longer interested. The relationship doesn't burn down in a fire. It quietly starves to death from a terminal lack of deep, sustained emotional resonance. This is the final state of a digitally decayed relationship. The smartphone operates as an active, demanding third party that has moved securely into the bedroom. The most insidious part is that the foundational pillars of trust and presence erode completely unnoticed. Couples sit in the same room for hours and mistakenly believe they are spending quality time together. We have to reframe how we view these devices in our homes. They are not inert objects resting on a coffee table. They are active portals, continuously streaming the unpredictable chaos of the outside world directly into our private sanctuaries. Overcoming this requires a harsh realization. Love and intimacy are not passive states of being that simply maintain themselves. They are deliberate acts of sustained, focused attention. Reclaiming that space requires action. Couples must construct rigid physical and temporal boundaries, like screen-free zones and designated disconnected hours, to quarantine their shared human spaces from algorithmic interference. If we want to save our romantic partnerships from digital decay, we have to start treating our undivided attention as exactly what it is, the most precious currency we have left to give.